You walk down the aisle of a high-end American grocery store and face a choice that feels more like a moral crossroads: a head of lettuce for $1.50 or an identical one with a green organic seal for $4.50. Most Americans reach for the expensive one, driven by a primal fear for their health and a desire to escape an industrial food system they no longer trust. But here is the paradox. In the wealthiest nation on earth, the organic label has become a $60 billion industry that often sells an illusion of purity while operating under the same industrial mechanics it claims to avoid. You aren't just buying food, you are buying a fleeting sense of safety in a system that has become increasingly opaque and difficult to navigate. This is the story of how a movement born from soil health and environmental ethics was hijacked by corporate monopolies, turning your search for wellness into a massive, invisible tax on the middle class. We have been led to believe that paying a premium is the only way to protect our families, yet the reality behind that green sticker is far more complex and calculating than the marketing suggests. The frustration you feel at the checkout counter, that nagging suspicion that you're working harder just to afford the basics, is not an accident. It is the result of a structural shift where the organic brand has been detached from its roots and repurposed as a tool for high-margin profit. This video will deconstruct the anatomy of this $60 billion scam, revealing the hidden patterns and economic incentives that allow corporations to profit from your health anxieties while delivering the same industrial product.
The organic movement didn't start in a corporate boardroom. It began as a radical grassroots rejection of the chemical-heavy, post-war agriculture that redefined the American landscape. In its early days, organic meant a total commitment to soil health, biodiversity, and a direct connection between the farmer and the community. However, as the market for health-conscious products exploded, this movement underwent a profound structural transformation. Small, independent farms were gradually absorbed by massive global conglomerates that realized they could charge a 300% premium for the exact same supply chain logistics used in conventional farming. Today, the USDA organic standards are frequently the subject of intense lobbying, leading to a loosening of the very regulations meant to protect the consumer. We are seeing a pattern where the system adapts to consumer rebellion by commodifying it, ensuring that even your attempt to opt out of the corporate machine still feeds the same bottom line. This has created a clean label that often allows for industrial-scale confinement of livestock and massive monocultures, effectively creating a mirror image of the industrial system it was supposed to replace. This process, often called the big organic takeover, reveals a fundamental flaw in the modern market. When a label becomes more valuable than the product itself, the incentive shifts from quality to exploitation. You are left with a monopoly of choice, where different brands on the shelf lead back to the same few parent companies. By understanding this shift from a social movement to a corporate monopoly, we can begin to see why the prices continue to rise, even as the actual standards of production are being diluted behind the scenes.
The real twist lies in the origin of your farm-to-table organic grains and oils, where the reality of the supply chain clashes with the image on the packaging. Because domestic production in the United States cannot meet the skyrocketing demand for organic products, the industry has created a massive, largely unregulated global pipeline. This is where the organic label enters a global shell game. Investigative audits have revealed that millions of pounds of conventional corn and soy from overseas are often relabeled as organic the moment they hit American ports. This is not just a simple failure of oversight. It is a direct consequence of a system built on flawed economic incentives. When a piece of paper, the organic certificate, is worth significantly more than the physical crop itself, the system practically invites fraud. We are seeing a pattern where the hidden causes of high prices
aren't rooted in better farming, but in a globalized bureaucracy that is easily exploited by those who know how to manipulate the paperwork. As a result, American families are straining their household budgets to buy integrity that may have been manufactured in a shipping container thousands of miles away. This reveals a deep structural engano, or deception, where the consumer pays the price for a standard that the system can no longer realistically guarantee. By revealing this invisible inflation and the occult nature of the international trade, it becomes clear that the premium you pay is often funding a global bureaucracy rather than a local farmer.
This structural deception has devastating consequences for the average American worker, already struggling with a rising cost of living. We are witnessing the green halo effect, where psychological pressure forces parents to choose between financial insecurity and the guilt of feeding their children what they perceive as substandard food. While salaries remain stagnant, the price of safety in the grocery store continues to outpace general inflation, creating a profound sense of pressure on the American family. This creates a two-tiered society, one that can afford the expensive illusion of health, and another that is left behind in a nutritional desert, feeling abandoned by the system. The irony is bitter. As consumers spend more to stay healthy, the financial stress of those very costs becomes a primary driver of their declining well-being. This isn't just an economic issue, it's a direct impact on human lives, fueling a cycle of anxiety and a fear of not being able to keep up with the basic cost of survival. The feeling that you are being cheated by corporations is not just a suspicion, it is a rational response to a system that has commodified your most basic needs. This is the consequence of a model that prioritizes corporate growth over the stability of the people it serves. By recognizing this pattern, we can see that the struggle to afford organic food is part of a larger structural failure that impacts every aspect of the modern American life.
If we look at countries in the European Union, the contrast is sharp and revealing. Their regulatory frameworks often emphasize the actual health of the soil and the biological process, whereas the American model has shifted toward a simple checklist of prohibited substances that is easily gamed by large-scale operations. What was supposed to be a revolution in how we treat the earth has become an industrial organic complex, a system that mirrors the very problems of the conventional world: monopolies, lack of transparency, and the exploitation of consumer trust. The organic label has been refined into a powerful marketing tool that captures your legitimate indignation and sells it back to you at a premium price. This comparison shows that the American situation isn't an inevitability, but a specific result of policy decisions and economic incentives that favor corporate consolidation over the individual. It reveals a pattern where the United States often leads in innovation, but also in the ability of massive structures to co-opt that innovation for profit. This industrial mirror reveals that we are living in a system of contradictions, where the most expensive products often hide the most complex layers of deception. The organic phenomenon is a case study in how a noble intent can be hollowed out, leaving only the brand behind. By examining these international and historical parallels, we can see that the pressure you feel is the intended outcome of a model that prioritizes the stability of the monopoly over the security of the consumer.
The $60 billion organic industry reveals a deeper truth about the American system. When a noble intent becomes a massive market, the mechanism of profit will always attempt to bypass the spirit of the law. This story matters because it validates that nagging feeling you have at the checkout counter, the sense that you are paying more for less, while being caught in a cycle of institutional deception. Real change doesn't come from a green sticker, but from understanding the structural incentives that prioritize corporate growth and monopoly control over nutritional honesty and your financial security. As we peel back the layers of this green halo, we find a pattern of exploitation that targets your desire for a better future. The organic scam is just one piece of a larger failing model, where the middle class is squeezed by rising costs and stagnant wages, while the people at the top consolidate their power. This isn't just about food, it's about the anatomy of a system that has learned to monetize your fears and your values. Why does this matter for your future? Because once you see the pattern, you can no longer be easily manipulated by the labels they use to divide and exploit us. Understanding these hidden mechanisms is the first step toward reclaiming clarity in a world designed to keep you confused and dependent. The system might not be built to be fixed by a single choice at the grocery store, but it loses its power the moment you stop believing the illusion.